Hello everyone, welcome back. If you look behind me, there's a circle with a little spot in the corner. What do you think this might be? I've got a percentage amount on that also, 0.21% and 99.79%. This little piece here of the puzzle is actually the GDP, or gross domestic product, of South Africa compared to the world. South Africa's GDP has not done that well over the last few years. 2017, this figure used to be 0.42, actually double the figure that it's now. This is a 2019 figure, by the way. In terms of the world economy, we have a smaller piece of the pie. Even though our economy is growing very slowly, other economies are growing faster, and this has made our pie a little smaller. How does this picture affect your investments? So if you're in South Africa and you invest money into the South African market, which is this small piece, then you are missing out on a lot of diversification. You're missing out on other markets, for example, the USA, countries in Europe, Japan, Australia, and many other countries around the world that you could have some of your money in. I am not advocating that other countries will always have a better return than South Africa. However, I'm going to get to that point now, and why it's good to have some of your money outside of the country that you live in, and especially if you live in a country that is pretty small compared to the world. That means you're taking on a larger risk. Firstly, you want some diversification. Have you ever heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket? Don't put your money in one little spot, except if you're 100% sure that that's the right spot. That's the paradox of investing. If you knew you were in the right spot, everyone would have been there. Why isn't everyone in one little place? The second thing you want is currency protection. So you want your currency to be protected at all times. If you are invested in one currency and your currency weakens, it means you've got a direct a link to that weakening. So if your currency weakens by 30% and your market increases by 10%, you're actually still 20% less wealthy compared to world standards. So this is what happened in Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwean dollar went so bad, there were $100 trillion notes at one stage that were printed. I actually have some copies, and in one of my other videos where I talk about inflation, I actually show you what these notes look like. People in Zimbabwe actually used the notes to build arts and crafts, and that's how worthless the currency was. They used it for whatever they could find as normal paper. You don't want your currency to depreciate that much. You would like the protection of having your money in different currencies. The third reason you want your money in different areas and not just in one country is political risk. Now, political risk forms part of the whole diversification strategy, but political risk is something more specific. Political risk is the risk linked to the political environment of a country. For example, Zimbabwe, as I mentioned earlier, where there's war like in Iraq or Afghanistan. There could be other reasons, for example, the recent Brexit, where the UK exited the European Union. That also has an effect on the currency of a country. Another reason you want your money to invest it not only inside your own country but outside your country as well is market risk. So if your country is a strong producer of steel and there's some kind of world events that causes steel to go down, or steel manufacturing to slow, or steel demand to go down, that could affect the whole country. The mining sector in South Africa, for example, was quite a big sector, and over the last few years, I would say over the last decade especially, the mining sector has shrunk quite a lot, and this has caused the whole country's GDP to shrink because the country's gross domestic product was highly reliable on the mining sector. So what happens if you diversify and you have some offshore allocation? That means your money that is offshore actually grows by the same amount as the currency weakening. Let me explain that again. So if you have R1,000,000 in an offshore fund, a rand denominated offshore fund, and the offshore market did 15% and the rand weakened by 7%, that means you actually win on the currency. So your investment would have grown by 22%. If the rand strengthens, that will be a discount. So in other words, if the offshore market grows by 15%, so all the assets outside of the country grows by 15% on that investment, and the rand strengthens by 7%, that means you'll only have an 8% return on investment. Please understand me correct, by no means am I advocating for only investing offshore or advocating for only investing in US dollars or anything like that. I'm really just painting a picture of what it's like to invest your money in different markets around the world, sitting in South Africa. And one thing to remember is you don't always have to take your money outside of the country physically. You don't always need to have an offshore bank account to place your money in. You can sit in South Africa. You can have rand denominated offshore funds. Always remember that most of the things that you have, like your house or any asset or anything that you might own, and even your income, gets generated in your own country most likely. So you would want some of your money outside of the country to counter that risk. So you can keep your feet planted in sunny South Africa and still take advantage of world markets. We're living in the 21st century. Speak to a competent financial advisor if you want to get something like this done. And remember, what you put in is what you get out. There's no miracles. Investing 1 rand is not going to make you R1,000,000. You are just trying to get the best for your investment. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. If you like this video, please click on the like button. I'll really appreciate that.